Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Hey. Okay, y'all. It's episode 34. I hope y'all are doing great. Listen, man, it's Friday. We made it. We made it. Listen, I've been listening to Young Chris. If y'all ain't never checked him out, gospel R&B for real. Listen, this song is called So Fine. But it's a real great song. Y'all need to check him out. Listen, I've been asking God to help me help me with even to my music, right? And I'm not saying nothing is wrong with the music, right? I'm not saying nothing is wrong with music, period, right? R&B or none of that, because I'm an R&B chick. But I've been desiring to get closer to God. And so because I've been desiring to get closer to God, I've been asking God to help me to acquire a taste for music, you know, that can also speak to my soul, right? But also feel good at the same time. But hey, y'all, listen, y'all, we done made it to episode 34, and I am so blessed and so honored, y'all, to be able to be here, to be able to still be alive. And guess what, y'all? This is what we do, right? At the Glow Up is we grow to glow. I'm excited because listen, man, God been really dealing with me, y'all, in a lot of areas of my life. And you know how that goes, right? Is that when God has been dealing with you with some things, you see what I'm saying? Because you got to get ready to do some things, right? That means that you're beginning to show God your yes, right, in your living. And so y'all know how I am, right? I'm very, very transparent on this thing because man, we need each other. Like that's what this whole thing is about. Like I can't be me, right? I can't just be fully myself without allowing God to be who He is, right? And so, even in allowing God to be who He is, that means that I have to literally submit to His will and to His ways, and to His desires. But at the same time, right, I'm still human. I still have my own desires. I still have the things that I want, but I also have to be very structured and intentional with what God has for my life. And so, that's what we must do in order for us to grow, right? Well, in order for us to glow, we got to grow. And so on tonight, man, I titled this episode Wholeness Over Everything. Wholeness over everything. Like, listen, y'all, we just got to be whole. It ain't no time for no incompleteness. It's no time for us making excuses and not trying to get it right, man. Now is not the time to give up on ourselves. Now is not the time to be out here just doing whatever it is that we desire to do, right? We want to make sure that our ways, man, line up with who He is, but we all got issues. Let's be real, right? Because life be life, and life definitely be out here life, right? But we must trust that we know that God is still God, man, and God is still God, and that He is still in the guiding business. And He wants to make us whole, right? And so our desire must continue to be that we want to be made whole. And because we want to be made whole, right? We are literally submitting our will, our ways to Him. So, y'all, listen, this thing hit me like a ton of bricks this week. Y'all know I'm always got to get ready to share some things with y'all. And I always be looking at scripture differently, right? When He begins to deal with me with things that are different, because I'm like, God, what in the world? But this word wholeness, man, had been bothering me. So I'm always thankful, right, that God gives us resources. And I always encourage you all the time. Like, if you need someone to talk to, if you need someone to be there for you, of course we have each other, but there are people out here, right, who are available for you to talk to if you really need that, right? Because sometimes even in scripture, even in having that relationship with God, right? God will call you and allow you to be able to speak to someone. And I'm talking about sometimes even a licensed therapist. Y'all, listen, ain't nothing wrong with you speaking to somebody and talking to somebody sometimes. And we should not be ashamed of that. We should not be ashamed of being able to dump on someone, right? Because this is what they get paid to do. They get paid to listen. They get paid to literally listen to everything that you have going on, but to also help guide you and provide you with tools, right, to help you become the best version of who you are. And I'm not knocking them at all. So shout out to a lot of the therapists that out there doing y'all thing, right, and helping us to grow, right, mentally, so we can also take care of our emotions. So our emotions can then be stabilized. In return, our spiritual being, right, revolutionized, right? So then that way we can physically do the work that God has called us to do for the kingdom. So I wanted to touch on this, man, because I think that sometimes, right, we miss out on becoming whole, right? Because of the simple fact that we don't really want to do the work. We want the results of being whole, but we don't want to do the work. We don't want to do the process. We don't want to actually sit there and allow God, right, to be God. We don't want to we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't like the pain. We don't like the way that things feel, right? And so, if God is really unctioning you, right, and calling you out, and you know that you may need some additional help besides the word, right? Um, Also, let me know. Reach out to me. You are feel free to reach out. And I'm definitely praying for you, praying with you. But there are resources, man, that we can go to find licensed therapists. And if you need somebody to talk to, trust me and trust and believe. Please hit me up. The Glow Up is on Facebook. The Glow Up is on TikTok. Message me, DM me, and I will definitely Um, put you into a relationship, right? With some women and men, Black men, right? People that look like us, right? People that understand where we come from. If you need to get in tune with someone, I promise you, I have resources. I will definitely try and hook you up. Hit me up. Okay. But tonight, y'all, man, I want to talk about wholeness. I want to talk about all of the things that make us uncomfortable, all of the things, all of the yucky stuff, all of the things that we don't even like about ourselves. Yo, it's some things that I'm still dealing with and I'm still working on, right? But God sees the effort. And that's the thing that I want to talk about on tonight is the effort of wholeness, right? The intent of wholeness. A lot of times what we have to do in order to even receive wholeness is we have to sacrifice. We have to be able to give up something. We have to be able to do something, right? In order to actually receive the wholeness, in order to receive the full effects of what it is that God has called for us to do, because ultimately He wants us to be free. Like He literally has called us to be a free people. And I'm talking about in the mental, in the emotional, right? As well as spiritual, as well as physical, right? God wants us to be whole. And the only way that we can get whole is if we get back into who He is and we begin to accept who He is, right? Because we can't do it by ourselves. Y'all, listen, I'm going to tell you what. Latoya, one thing about me, I am a very independent woman, okay? I am very independent, but what I'm not going to do is pretend that I don't need God because I'm not an island by myself. God says, yes, you are who you are, right? And we all have shortcomings. We all have issues. We all have things that we're going through. But even though we're going through these things, right? Um, a lot of times we get so caught up in the circumstances that we become our circumstances, right? Instead of allowing God to free us from our circumstances. When God says, I want you to give it to me. And a lot of times we have no way of just being able to just leave our cares there to be able to even become whole, right? We can't even feel an ounce of what freedom really looks like or what deliverance really looks like because we've been so bound for so long. We've been so in tune with ourselves for so long, y'all. We've literally wrapped ourselves up, right? And I'm thankful because God has allowed me 37 years on this earth. I am so excited. I'm thankful that God has allowed me to have 37 years on this earth, y'all. And I don't even know how much more longer that I have on this earth. But what I do know, right, is that 37 is a whole number, right? It's a whole number. And so even with those 37 years, it's some things that I've gotten to experience. And sometimes, y'all, that's what we got to do. We got to evaluate our lives. We got to evaluate the time that we've had on this earth. What have you learned? while being on this earth, right? Or are you just taking up space? Are you just taking up space? Or are you really out here living the way that God has called you to live, which is whole, right? And so I just wanted to go over a few scenarios with y'all. Listen, these things really blessed me, like they really did. And so I wanted to talk to you, let's talk about Matthew. So Matthew chapter 9 verse 20 through 22. A woman who had been bleeding for 12 years touched Jesus' robe and was healed. Jesus said, daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith hath made thee whole, right? And so what God is letting me know is that even in her issue, right? She had the opportunity to become whole, right? So hold that thought. Luke 17, verse 19 says, Jesus said to a healed man, arise and go. It was your faith that brought you salvation and made you whole. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. John 5:14. The Lord healed a sinner by the pool, forgave him of his sins, and said, behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. All right, there go that whole again, right? That word whole again. And then Ephesians 1, right? 6-7, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace. From his fullness, we have all received grace for grace. So what I'm realizing, right, that's so common in each and every single one of these, right? In order to become whole, we must have faith. Y'all, that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. Y'all, that thing blessed me because I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, wait a minute. Wait a minute, God. So, in order for me to become whole, I have to have faith. So, faith is the thing that I need in order to obtain wholeness. And so you mean to tell me that my faith has to be structured? You mean to tell me that my faith has to grow in you in order for me to become whole? That means that this is a continuous thing, right? God is letting us know, even in these examples, that there are going to be issues. There's going to be triumph. There's going to be pain. There's going to be things that are going to come up against you. But you must have the faith. You must have the desire, okay? And belief, right, to obtain the wholeness. You have to begin to accept, okay, that where you are right now in this current moment is not where you will remain. Hello. Listen, that thing blessed me on y'all. That thing hit me like a ton of bricks and I was like, God, oh my God, you're really beginning to show me even more that God, just when I felt like, right, that I wasn't worthy, when I felt like I needed to just give up on this thing, when I felt like my back was up against the wall, you reminded me that my faith is the thing that's going to continue to grant me wholeness. Wholeness is there waiting for each and every single one of us. But a lot of times, man, listen, we get in our own way. We get so caught up in the things of this world, y'all, that we lose our faith. Listen, the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy you. And if he can get in your thoughts, right? That means that he can begin to take bits and pieces of your faith. Hello, listen, he won't take my faith, won't mess up my opportunity for wholeness. Because these people that he used, even with the lady with the issue of blood, she was so determined to become whole. He literally told her, is that your faith has made you whole. The reason why you are whole is because of your belief. Because not only your belief, because you felt and you knew and you believed in your whole heart that you were going to be made whole. Because a lot of us, right, the enemy tries to get in our thoughts, okay? And the enemy will try to mess with your mind. And because he tries to get in your mind, right, and he gets there, he begins to creep all different types of things, right, in your head, right, and he has all of these different thoughts going on in your head. And the reason why he's such you become a target is because what happens is a lot of times we begin to isolate ourselves. We begin to put ourselves in the rut. We begin to compare our lives, right, to other people's, when God didn't call us to compare our lives to other people. Listen, you are you, I'm me, right? Things that God does for you, he may not do for me, right? And then again, he may do them for me, but my timing is not now. And so if I can be excited, hello, for you, right, I can begin to obtain all of the things that God has called for me. And that wholeness is a thing, because the reality is, right, is that He gives us joy, He gives us peace, He gives us the fruit of the Spirit. And y'all, this goes right back to the fruit from last week, right? What fruit do you have on your tree? Do you have the joy? Do you have the kindness? Do you have the gentleness? Because these are the things that God wants us to obtain and wants us to have. Because even when the enemy tries to throw things and obstacles up against you, you have to be able to say, I can take from my own tree, hello, and I can begin to feed myself. Did y'all just get that? Did y'all just hear what I just said? Now, in order for there to become a whole, right? That means that work has to be done. And so in order for us to get to the next level that God has called us to be, and wants to see us flourish in, right, we have to begin to accept who He is. But a lot of us, we can't even accept who we are in the present moment. And we got to be real with ourselves. Where am I today? Do I still have more work to do? Listen, we all got work to do. Listen, y'all, I just told y'all last week, God been dealing with me with this cussing thing. And I've been trying to put substitutions there. I've been trying to put all of these different things there, but I'm just believing God for deliverance in it all, right? Because I know if He did it for other people, and this is the beautiful part about God, God will allow people, right, who have been in your circumstances, where you've thought that you've been in bondage this whole time, but God says, I set them free. And so they are now testifying and letting you know that if God did it for me, God can do it for you. Y'all, I don't know what none of y'all out here are going through right now in this moment, but I'm telling you, if you want to be free and you want the mindset of becoming whole, right? We have to be able to be real with ourselves, because if we can't be real with ourselves and we can't open our mouths and be honest with who God is showing us we are, right? So we can begin to do the work, so we can begin to allow Him to break down the barriers, right? And do the pruning, right, on the tree, so the fruit can actually take take hold, and that root can begin to really take hold and be able to be molded and to be a whole tree. Some of us, y'all, are so intimidated, right, by getting our hands dirty. We like, man, I don't even want to touch that. I don't even want my hands to get dirty. But we've been dirty the whole time. God's been trying to get you to unlearn some of the things, right, that you done learned. And some of us done learned things subconsciously. We have literally allowed generational curses to come upon us. And we can't even obtain the wholeness because we're so involved, right, with the curse. We're so involved with the things of the world that we can't even be shaken. We don't even want, we done got so used to sin, right? We done got so used to it that we begin to make excuses. Oh, well, I'm just only human. And God says, well, wow. So that's what we want to do, right? We just want to make a situation, um, just make it and minimize it. When God is saying, okay, even in that situation, even though it may be a little sin, it's still sin, right? Because the beautiful thing about God, man, is that the closer you get to Him, the more He reveals to you who you are. And He begins to tug at you. Begins to convict you, because this is what a relationship is, right? This woman, man, that had this issue, man, I can only imagine all of the things that she was going through mentally, right? But I can't even begin to even think about just the physical stench, because they said she had an issue of blood. And blood, y'all, I don't know about y'all. Listen, if you're a female, you already understand where I'm going with this thing. Listen, we all bleed at least once a month, right? Or have bled at least once a month. And I don't know about you, but that blood don't smell too good. I'm just saying. So I'm thinking about her and her situation and how she physically may have had a stench, but how desperate she was and how determined she was to become whole. She had a desire because she got tired. She got tired of going through the same thing. How many of y'all are sick and tired of going in circles? How many of you are sick and tired of going through the things, right, that your mother went through, or your sister gone through, or your grandma went through, or your great grandma went through. Listen, we have to stop it right now. We have to be able to say enough is enough. It will not mess with me. It will not deter me. It has no place here. We have to be able to call that thing out, regardless of what it is, whether or not if it could be sex, it could be money, right? It could be jealousy. Call that thing out. Call it out. Call it out and say, you have no power over my life, because I want to be whole. I want to be just like this lady with this issue of blood. I'm so determined because I want to be better, God. I want to do the best. I want to be the best that you have for me. I want to be whole. Listen, when you make up in your mind that you want to be whole and you want to be free, then guess what happens? You start believing it, because it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. Y'all, listen, I've been battling this thing, weight loss, right, for a long time, for years, right? My weight fluctuates. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And what the enemy will not do, right, is I will not allow the enemy, right, to deter me, nor will I allow the enemy to even tempt me. You see what I'm saying? Because I am in control of me. I get to control what goes in and what comes out. I get to decide on what I put inside of me. You are in charge of what goes on inside of your physical, right? You get to choose what to eat. Nobody forces you to do that. But just because you've been eating it for so long and you've been doing it for so long, you've made up excuses to say, well, this is what I've been doing. I've been eating pork. I've been doing all of these things. I've been eating all of this for so long. I might as well continue to eat it. Listen, y'all, listen, that thing convicted me like it was nothing. And it was just like, well, what are you doing to my temple? This may not do nothing for you, but it did something for me, right? And I'm so thankful that God deals with us individually, right? Because you only know what your issues are. I don't know what your issues are. But that's why I said this thing becomes personal. And this is why God deals with us individually, because he wants us to maintain a wholeness. He wants us to have a mindset of aiming to become whole. But we can't become whole until we admit our faults. God says, confess it. Say it out loud, and that's okay. Speak it. And I'm talking about when it's just you and him. Speak that thing. Speak your truth. Speak your truth. Listen, I ain't ashamed to say it. I done had some very unhealthy relationships when it came to food. And guess what happened? My body began to show that I have unhealthy relationships with foods. It's certain foods that I just cannot eat that don't agree with my body, like bread. And I'll say that because I know that bread is just not something that agrees with my body. If I eat just a piece of bread, I can eat a roll, y'all. Listen, and all of a sudden, my stomach, it will look flat, but then all of a sudden, if I eat a roll or anything else, that thing is going to start to poke out. And y'all, it's a constant reminder. It's like, how bad do you want to receive? How bad do you want this thing? How bad do you want the results? But what are you doing to obtain it? You're not watching what you eat. It's just that simple. You're not even being mindful of what you're putting inside of your body. You're still eating the things that you used to eat because you felt like it worked for grandma, it worked for mom, right? And now it's on you, right? And so you're like, I'm making excuses because I'm saying, oh, and my mama did it, my grandma did it, so I might as well do it. That don't make it right. Just because they did it, just because they did it don't mean that this is what it was supposed to be. And see, God is trying to unction you up and rise you up to show a different example, to be able to stop it right there. This is what God does. He begins to show us who we are, to work on this wholeness, to work on becoming the best version of ourselves. Well, we cannot become the best version of ourselves because we're so stuck on the things of the world. Maybe yours isn't food like mine is, right? Maybe yours isn't food. Maybe yours is that relationship. Maybe you've seen dad or grandma or whoever, right, choose the type of men that they chose, and now you looking at the type of men that you done chose, and you like, dang, how in the world did I get here? Because you got to see examples, right? Or maybe you one of those people that like to look at TV, right? We are always constantly looking at something, regardless of what it is, right? Regardless of what that influence is. Like our eyes, our senses, man, our senses can begin to detect and put us in compromising situations if we do not pay attention to it, if we're not mindful of what we're watching or what we're being exposed to, right? We begin to mimic those things. Even a child does it. Lord, I look at my niece and she picks up on so much, and it's crazy because she'll be 1 years old. She'll be 1 years old next week, and I just can't believe that time has flew by, right? But she is such a sponge, right? But she will literally pay attention to every single thing that you do, and she's at an age now where she will literally repeat what her big brother does, whatever her big brother does, because she's around him all the time. She sees what he does, and she will literally mimic what he does. Like, it's crazy to me, right? And I'm like, wow. Even down to the phone, y'all. Like, she will literally see her mom or her dad literally moving the phone, right? Like moving it up and down. And she literally will do it, right? And so just because she does these things, right? Like, we still have to be accountable. Like, God is like treating us just like the baby, right? Because even to a baby, they don't know, but you have to guide them. And so God wants to guide us. How many of us are really allowing God to guide us? Or have we been so caught up in our own ways, right? That we begin to make excuses because it looks good with everybody else and everybody else is doing it, we're going to do it too. That's an ouch moment. Because some of us, y'all, we get so wrapped up in this world and we get so caught up. We're trying to reach a certain status, going after all of the things that's of this world. Man, listen, God says the grass with the flowers fades, but the word of God stands forever. That is the only thing that is going to last. What you do for God is the only thing that's going to last. So that's why I said tonight, y'all, we're going to talk about wholeness. Wholeness over everything. It's got to be wholeness over everything. Like, you can't just pick and choose when you want to trust God. You got to trust him. Even when it's tough to trust him, even when it's hard to trust him, because even when things don't make sense on paper. Listen, we've been talking about this election too, right? Things don't make sense. I'm trying to figure out why this is happening. I wonder why my life is all messed up. Listen, your life ain't messed up. You control you, right? And imagine if we all just controlled ourselves and swept around our own front doors instead of focusing on what the president is doing or who the soon to be president will be. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand. I get it. Right? Oh, well, he's this person, he's that person. Man, what about you? What about you? Who are you? You are a sinner saved by grace. Who are you? Sweep around your own front door. You're trying to be whole. Listen, I'm not going to count nobody out. Because every single person in this on this earth has the opportunity to become whole. Are you choosing to become whole? It's your choice. God is not forceful. He's not going to force himself on you. He's not. Yes, we know that we see by the fruit. We can judge by the fruit. We can. We can see where this is going. We don't want to be like the fig tree. It look good, but then when you get up close on that thing, it's nothing but leaves. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I want to be whole. I can't be so worried and distracted by the things that are around me, nor who the president is. I know that the same God with Abraham and Jacob and Isaac and Joseph, all at the same time, is still the same God even today. He is the I am. He revealed who he is. He says, I am. That's my name. I am. I am Yahweh. I am. I am the one true living God. And if he did it for them all those years ago, right? Then he's going to do it again. I have to understand and I have to trust that God knows exactly what he's doing. Even though the things that come out of people's mouths are ignorant. Listen, if you can get along with some of your family members that done showed you who they are, what makes you think you can't get along with Trump? I'm just saying it's an unpopular opinion though, because it don't sound good, it don't feel good. You like, man, but that's my family. And they stinking up the place, you stinking up the place, we stinking up the place. Who are we? We're no better. We're no better. The only difference is, right, is that, we're not the ones who actually you get to see our lives. We get to contain our lives. We get to contain our sin. We get to hide our sin. Hello, I'm just saying. We don't know this man's personal life, but we looking at it, right? We see it, we hear it, right? We looking at it because we like, oh no, this man got some crazy fruit. And he probably do. But God done decided to allow him to become president of the United States again. And so I can't do nothing but respectfully. I'm like, God, you know what? You got this thing. Look, listen, you God. I'm not. I don't know if I would have went that route. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, right? The grace that God has given us is sufficient for our lives. Imagine if God decided to turn his back on you and me because of the things that we done said out of our mouths out of ignorance. I'm just saying, man, listen, we ain't always been this way. And some of us are still in our own way. Some of us still got a ways to go. Some of us want to be whole, but we say we want to be whole, but we are so far away. We are so far away. Man, and my Pastor Ty, he was preaching. He was preaching on Sunday, and he was talking about Peter, right? And I was there and I was like, wow, and it was crazy because I had gotten a revelation. I had been talking to my mom even in this week because I was like, man, some of us, man, we're just like Peter. We're just like Peter. We telling Jesus, like, listen, Jesus, I'm ready to go with you. I'm your ride or die. You said I'm saying, God, like, God, I'm right here with you. I love you. But yet at the same time, man, our actions show him otherwise. We're so far away from him. And yet at the same time, he's still there with open arms, still loving us, still hoping and wishing that we find our way, that we continue to hold on to our faith and find our way back to him. Y'all, this was Peter, one of the disciples, one of his best, like strongest disciples, y'all. Like, I mean, he really told Jesus that I'm gonna go to prison with you. I'll even do death with you. I'm your ride or die. And Jesus said, there, Peter. There. Like, you're gonna deny me. Not only are you gonna deny me once, but you're gonna deny me 3 times. And he probably was like, really? I'm gonna do that? No, I can't see myself doing that. A lot of us can't see ourselves doing a lot of things, but we do them. Ouch. I'm just saying, y'all, it don't feel good. Wholeness, man, when you make up your mind to become whole, right? There's deliverance, there's freedom and wholeness. But we can't become whole because a lot of times we're so in tune with our circumstances and the distractions that are around us, whether or not if it's relationships with people, right? Friendships. But relationships, man, they're so important. We got to be around people that are like-minded. We can't just be around people, man, that are in our current, in the current season that we're in, man. We got to look at people that want, like, I don't know about y'all, but listen, I want to obtain some things, right, in this kingdom of God. And so God has really been nudging me, is that I need for you to be around people that are already there, right? And so in order for me to get the weight off, right, I have to be around people that are already there. I can't continue to be around people who are trying to get the weight off just like me, because a lot of times what happens is their insecurities, right, can then become my insecurities because it all starts with a thought. And then the enemy is like, yep, see, there she go. She surrounded herself around people. And we always talk about, I'm strong enough to be around these people. I'm strong enough to deal with this. No, because listen, you got triggers. You got some things that you're dealing with, right? And you got some things that you've been trying to get rid of and been trying to let go of, but you can't let go because it's an internal struggle. And because it's an internal struggle, right? You voice it. And imagine being around people that's going through that same struggle. that you're going through. And next thing you know, all y'all doing is talking about it. All y'all doing is gossiping about it. All y'all doing is feeding it. And the more you feed that issue, the issue becomes bigger than who you are at that point. And then you become the issue. Did y'all just hear what I just said? I said you become the issue because you're talking about it so much, you're feeding it. Instead of feeding your faith, you feeding your issue. And because you decided to feed your issue instead, now you wondering why you so mentally crazy. Like why you got all these different types of thoughts in your mind that you want to hurt yourself, that you want to not talk to this person. You mad at this person. I don't want to deal with this. I want to just be by myself. I don't want to deal with them today. Why they keep calling me? Let me put my phone on silent. Let me go exit out the building. Oh my God, here he come. My spirit. You see what I'm saying? All of these different thoughts that you got going on in your head, in your mind, because you done created something, right? Instead of dealing with it internally, instead of acknowledging it, right, and admitting it and bringing it to God, you bring it to people that's going through the same thing. And they've been trying to get themselves to be free. And now y'all over there just being a hot mess together. I don't know about y'all. Listen, I need people to be able to pray for me. I need people to be able to stand in the gap for me. And I'm thankful, man, for my two. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I am thankful for my two. Listen, God been putting me around like-minded people, like-minded women that are like me, because I need to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, right? But even when I'm going through some things, I need people that's going to be able to pray for me. Listen, my friends got to be able to pray for me, because if you can't pray for me, why are you here? If you can't even be supportive to even be able to encourage me, why are you on my team? Some of us need to evaluate our team. Some of us really do need to take our time and evaluate our team, because they are stopping us from reaching wholeness. God wants you to reach wholeness, man. God wants you to make up in your mind to choose Him, to choose wholeness on today. Choose it. It's an unpopular opinion to choose it, right? It's just like, well, how many people are really choosing to be whole these days? We got so many people out here, man. We got Christians that are out here literally, tarnishing it. Like you got people out here really not living that life. They're calling themselves that, but they're not living it. And even when they try to live it, right? And my thing is they can't even speak that truth. Why? Because you got people out here that are so judgmental, right? But you got to be able to be truthful, right? Because there's a testimony in this thing. And we ain't always had it together. Listen, I still don't proclaim to have it all together. God's still dealing with me. But I'm just like that woman with the issue of blood. I'm determined to become whole. I made up my mind that I got to do this. My life depends on it. My freedom depends on it every single day, man, because the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy my personal freedom every day. God says, I give you new grace and new mercies every day. I don't even have to use the same grace or same mercy that I had on yesterday. God gives it to me today. Like I still get an opportunity to get it right today. Because guess what? He woke me up this morning. He woke me up today to be able to smile. Whether or not if it's encouraging somebody, listen, I pray that my life touches somebody. I pray that the life that I live is everything that God has called it to be. And in order for me to allow it to become everything that it's called to be, I have to die. My flesh has to die. My faith has to increase. The more that my faith becomes increased, the more my wholeness becomes real. And my life begins to speak for itself. Listen, I'm telling you, I don't proclaim to have it all the way right, because listen, I'm not perfect. But it's in those imperfections that He can perfect me and create a wholeness, y'all, that surpasses all understanding. Listen, my book has already been written. God already knows how this thing is going to end. I'm praying and hoping that I stay in the race. I'm praying and hoping that this wholeness begins to affect me, not only me, the ones that I love as well. Because His grace is sufficient for my life. It's sufficient for our lives. Listen, y'all, we got to make up in our mind wholeness today. We can't be out here just doing the things that we want to do. God has called us higher. We got to go higher. The enemy is already, depending on where you at in your life right now, man, the enemy is literally out here seeking who he can devour. If he can distract you with whatever things that it is that you like. And sometimes, man, the things that we like, those things can distract us. Those things can deter us. Those things can stop us from receiving all of the things that God has for us. We just got to be mindful. Listen, we got to be mindful of our choices. Do you want to be whole? Wholeness over everything. Wholeness over everything. And it starts here in the mind. We have to be able to receive it in the mind so our heart and our mind can then line up. And so our heart, whatever we think of here, whatever we think in here, whatever we receive in here, it's in our mind, and our mind controls our whole body. So whatever the thoughts that we thought, like think, like sometimes we just need to ask God, God, is that an okay thought? Right? Do I need to act upon this thought? Right? We need to ask God for permission to do some things. This is what our Father does. This is what our Father wants us to do. He wants us to come to Him. He wants us to love on Him, and He wants us to be straight with Him. Listen, God already knows, right? And sometimes you may say, my man, God knows my thoughts already. He knows my thoughts before. And sometimes, yeah, I mean, yeah, he does. But sometimes he wants us to hear it. Sometimes he just wants us to give him that satisfaction. Sometimes he wants to become our counselor. Sometimes he wants to be our mother, our father, our best friend. He wants to be our confidant. He wants to be those things, right? And so if we can just trust him if we could just trust him with ourselves, us in our human nature, we could just trust him with just being human, admit our faults, right? Do you know there's so much freedom in voicing it out, right? It's so much freedom. And you don't know who you're gonna be able to bless with that testimony. You don't know who you're gonna be able to touch on today. Man, stop holding things in. That thing may free some people, even to your own family. And guess what? A lot of times it starts there. Listen, I pray all the time for my family. I pray all the time for my family because at the end of the day, man, I want to be a living light amongst them. I know that, sometimes my cousin, right, can be a bit much. But I've always been the person to just say whatever I got to say and mean what I say when I say it. And God has just really touched me in that way where He's really allowed me to have freedom in that space, right? To just be. This is just my personality. He said, "This is who you are, Toya. You're gonna hold the people accountable. That's who you are, right? But people also are gonna hold you accountable. You get what I'm saying?" And so, my family knows that Toya is going to say what Toya got to say. I've always been this way since I was a child. I didn't just grow up, right, as an adult and just begin to find my voice. I always had a voice. And because I had that voice, right, that voice has gotten me into a lot of situations where people have been jealous of me because they feel like, oh, let me beat Toya to the punch because she gonna say what she got to say, and I am that person, right? But I'm also growing and maturing, right? And so sometimes people don't know who you are, right? They have to relearn you. And I've outgrown so many different things, even to foods that I used to eat. Like I'm outgrowing a lot of things. And this is maturity. This is what God has called us to do. Like He's called for us to be mature. He's called for us to be whole. Like we're supposed to be growing. Never apologize for growth. Never apologize for your spiritual walk, your spiritual growth. Like, listen, if it's some things that's not making you feel good, you have to get up. You have to be able to walk away. If it's some conversations that's being had and you're just like, nope, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to hear that because it has nothing to do with my soul. It's no positivity. It's just all negative, right? It's he say, she say. I don't have the time for that. I don't want to hear that. You get what I'm saying? Like you have that right to say no. Like tell them to go reach out to a therapist. Say, look, listen, Toya should be on the podcast every Friday. And she said that if you need somebody to get in contact with, she got some therapists that she know. Hit her up on Facebook, hit her up on TikTok, hit her up on Instagram, hit her up, just hit her up on YouTube, whatever. Make it plain. Listen, I'll hook you up. I'll help you find somebody out here, you know what I'm saying, that can help you, in that regard. Because it's not on you. It's not on you. You are in charge of you. Nobody else has control. You have the control. You control what you can control, and the other things you leave it to God. Listen, I'm telling you, no doormats. You will not be a doormat. You will not just bow down to circumstances. You will not allow the enemy to win. Do you not understand that if you throw the towel in now, how many people are counting on you to win? How many people are counting on you to make it through? How many people are waiting for you to come across their paths because you have something that's going to help free them? Listen, the things that you go through ain't for you. Listen, I had to learn that too. The things that I'm going through in this life, it ain't for me. This is how this thing even came up, y'all. We grow to glow, man. We got to constantly be reminded of that. We grow to glow. This is what we do at the Glow Up is, right? We grow to glow because without growing, without growth, right, we can't become whole. There is no opportunity for wholeness. And we got to be desperate for this thing. So I don't know about y'all, man. Wholeness over everything. Wholeness over everything. I'm tired. I'm tired of being distracted. I'm tired of going through the same things over and over that I've seen other people go through. And when you see other people go through things, right? And I use this too, and I'm like, man, I ain't going through that. I want better for myself. I want the best. I even asked a question on Facebook this week. I said, is he or she the best for you? Or are you just settling for good for you? I want the best for me. And I said this multiple times. Listen, I will be single, 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 single until the day that I die if I do not obtain the best. I'm just saying because I refuse to settle because what's the purpose of me being with somebody who don't appreciate me, who don't even know how to love me the way that God is called, for us to love? Like, I don't want to just be with just no anybody. Like that man can't love me because I can see his fruit. And a lot of us don't even know what love is, man. That's a whole nother beast. And I've been talking about that too. A whole lot of us don't even know what love is. We need to really, really sit down with love, which is God. We need to really sit down with God to really understand what love is. And how in the world can you give unconditional love to somebody who don't even appreciate it? That ain't your job to be God. It's not your job to be God. But you can be an example. But you have to set boundaries. It's okay for you to do that too. Take the time, man, to become whole. Take your time to become whole, man. Because guess what? Even being single, one is a whole number. One is not a half, it's a whole number. Wholeness. That's what God called us, man. So be like the lady with the issue of blood. Reveal that issue. Be real with yourself. Is that, listen, I've been trying to do it myself all this time. I've been going through this for all this long time, for years, you know and now I can't do it. I realize and I know that I can't do it, and so God, I just got to let you do it in order for me to become whole in my mind, mentally, right? Spiritually, emotionally, in order for me to become whole in all aspects of my life, I have to be able to give this thing to you. So wholeness it is. Wholeness over everything. Anyway, y'all, I love y'all. My time, I went over by 2 minutes, but anyways, I love y'all. Be blessed, man. Remember, y'all, this is what we do, right? We grow to glow. I'm your pusher. I'm your coach. And I'm here. I'm here, man. If you need anything, you need prayer, you need whatever, let me know, okay? Because listen, we in this thing together. This is what we do at the Glow Up is we grow to glow. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Y'all, I see y'all next week around the same time. Y'all know I'm on here between 6:30, 6:45. I'm always starting. And so I'm thankful, man, to be able to be blessed and to be able to have this platform, to be able to have people that support and love on me. Listen, y'all, I promise you, I appreciate y'all so much from the bottom of my heart. Be blessed until next week, y'all. Listen, we growing to glow, honey. We growing to glow. I love y'all. All right, y'all. Bye.